Is it selfish to protect my peace from the parent who hurt me most? The day my mother showed up at my door with 3 suitcases, I realized karma doesn't always feel as satisfying as you think it will. She told me I was ungrateful when I was 17. Now, at 24, she's calling me her only hope. The buzzer to my apartment rang at 9:47 on a Tuesday night, and somehow I knew it was her before I even checked the intercom camera. I had just gotten home from my shift at the hospital where I work as a nurse. My scrubs were still damp from rain, my hair was falling out of its ponytail, and I had been looking forward to nothing more than heating up leftovers and watching something mindless on my laptop. I was 24 years old, living alone in a modest one-bedroom apartment that I had worked desperately hard to afford, and I was finally starting to feel like my life was my own. But there she was on the grainy screen, my mother, standing in the lobby with 2 large suitcases and a canvas bag slung over her shoulder, looking up at the camera with an expression I could not quite read. It had been 5 years since I had seen her face in person, 5 years since she sat across from me at our old kitchen table and told me I had to choose, respect her new husband and his rules, or leave. I was 17 then. I chose to leave, or rather, she chose for me. My finger hovered over the intercom button. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, louder than the rain pattering against my window. Part of me wanted to press the button and ask her what she wanted. Another part of me wanted to walk away from the intercom entirely, pretend I had never seen her, and let her stand there until she gave up and left. But I pressed the button. "Hello?" I said, my voice coming out smaller than I intended. "Sweetheart," she said, and her voice cracked. "It is me. Can I come up? Please. I need to talk to you." I closed my eyes. Sweetheart. She had not called me that in years. The last thing she had called me was stubborn and disrespectful when I refused to apologize to her husband for something I had not even done. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just need a few minutes," she said. "Please, I am freezing out here." Against every instinct screaming at me to hang up, I buzzed her in. I unlocked my apartment door and stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching the elevator numbers climb. 3, 4, 5. When the doors opened and she stepped out, I barely recognized her. She looked older, thinner. Her coat was worn at the edges, and her hair, which she used to dye a warm chestnut brown, was streaked with gray. She had always been so particular about her appearance. Seeing her like this felt wrong, like looking at a photograph that had been left in the sun too long. "Hi," she said softly, stopping a few feet away from me. "Hi," I replied. We stood there in the hallway, staring at each other. I did not invite her in. Not yet. "You look good," she said, glancing at my scrubs. "You are a nurse now?" "Yes." "That is wonderful. I always knew you were smart." I bit the inside of my cheek. She had never said that to me when I was younger. When I told her I wanted to go to nursing school, she said it was a waste of time, that I should just get a job and help her with bills instead. She said I was being selfish for even thinking about college when she was struggling to keep the house running. She said a lot of things back then that made me feel small and worthless. "What do you want?" I asked again, more firmly this time. Her face crumpled slightly, and she looked down at her suitcases. "I need help," she said. "I have nowhere else to go." "What happened?" She hesitated, then sighed. "He left me, my husband. He took most of our savings and just left. I could not keep up with the rent on my own, and I got evicted last week. I have been staying with a friend, but I cannot stay there anymore. She said I was taking advantage of her hospitality. I just need a place to stay for a little while, just until I get back on my feet." I stared at her. The man she had chosen over me. The man she had defended when he yelled at me for coming home late from work, when he went through my phone without permission, when he told me I was lazy and ungrateful for not cleaning the house the way he wanted. The man she married 6 months after my father died, as if she could not stand to be alone for even a moment. The man who made me feel like an intruder in my own home. That man had left her, and now she was here. "Why did you come to me?" I asked. "Because you are my daughter," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I laughed bitterly. "I have not been your daughter in 5 years. That is not fair," she said, her voice rising slightly. "You left. You chose to leave. You told me to leave." I shot back, my voice echoing in the hallway. "You told me that if I could not respect him, I could not live under your roof. You stood there and watched me pack my things, and you did not say a single word to stop me. You were being difficult," she said defensively. "You would not listen. You kept fighting with him, and I was trying to keep the peace. I was trying to make my marriage work." "He was controlling," I said, feeling all the old anger rising up in my chest. "He treated me like I was a burden. He made rules about what time I had to be home even though I was working to save money for school. He went through my belongings. He commented on everything I ate, everything I wore, everything I did, and you let him." "I was trying to build a life," she said, her eyes welling up. "I was alone after your father died. I needed someone. I needed stability. And you were so angry all the time. You made everything so hard." I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I was 17 years old. I had just lost my father. And instead of being there for me, you brought a stranger into our home and expected me to just accept it. You expected me to smile and be grateful while he took over our lives. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I know I made mistakes," she said quietly, "but I am your mother, and I need you right now." I looked at her standing there in the hallway, small and tired and desperate, and I felt a tug in my chest, the same tug I had felt when I was 17, standing in that kitchen, wanting so badly for her to choose me. But she had not chosen me then, and now she was asking me to choose her. "Come inside," I said finally, stepping aside. She let out a breath of relief and picked up her suitcases. I watched her walk into my apartment, looking around at the space I had built for myself. The couch I had bought secondhand and reupholstered with my own hands. The bookshelf I had assembled myself, following online tutorials. The framed photos of me and my friends, me and my partner, me at my nursing school graduation wearing the biggest smile because because I had done it despite everything. None of the photos included her. "This is nice," she said, setting her bags down by the door. "You have done well for yourself." "Thank you," I said stiffly. She sat down on the edge of my couch, folding her hands in her lap. "I really appreciate this," she said. "I promise I will not be in your way. Just a few weeks, maybe a month at most, just until I can find a job and save up for a place." I sat down in the chair across from her, my mind racing. A month. Could I handle having her here for a month? Could I wake up every morning and see her face and not think about the night she let me walk out the door with a trash bag full of clothes and nowhere to go? Could I sit across from her at breakfast and not remember all the times she dismissed my feelings, invalidated my pain, chose someone else over me? That night, after my mother fell asleep on the couch, I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, unable to stop my mind from going back to that last year I lived with her. My father had died suddenly from a heart attack when I was 16. One day he was there, laughing at the dinner table, helping me with my math homework, planning a camping trip for the summer. The next day, he was gone. Just gone. And my whole world shattered. My mother grieved differently than I did. She could not stand to be alone. She could not stand the silence in the house. Within 3 months, she had started dating. Within 6 months, she had met him. Within 8 months, they were married. I never stood a chance. He moved into our house, into my father's space, and everything changed. Suddenly, there were new rules. I had to ask permission to have friends over. I had to be home by 8 in the evening, even on weekends. I had to keep my room spotless and help with all the household chores while he sat on the couch watching television. My mother said it was because he was the man of the house now, and we needed to respect him. But respect was not what he wanted. He wanted control. He started small. Comments about my appearance, suggestions about what I should wear, questions about where I was going and who I was with. My mother told me he was just trying to be a good stepfather, that he cared about my safety. But it did not feel like care. It felt like surveillance. Then he started going through my things. I would come home from school to find my drawers slightly open, my notebooks moved, my phone mysteriously dead even though I had charged it that morning. When I confronted him, he denied it. When I told my mother, she said I was being paranoid. The final straw came a week before my 18th birthday. I had gotten a job at a local diner to save money for nursing school. I was working evening shifts, which meant I got home around 10. He hated it. He said I was being disrespectful by coming home so late. He said I was probably out doing things I should not be doing. He demanded I quit my job. I refused. That night, my mother sat me down and said I needed to make a choice. I could either follow the rules of the house and show her husband respect, or I could leave. She said she could not have me disrupting her marriage. She said I was old enough to be on my own anyway. I packed my things that night, hoping she would stop me, hoping she would tell me she was sorry, that she had made a mistake, that she chose me, but she just watched me pack with her arms crossed, her face hard and closed off. I slept in my car that first night. Then I stayed with my best friend for a few weeks until her parents said I could not stay anymore. Then I bounced between couches and floors and one horrible week where I slept in a park because I had nowhere else to go. I worked double shifts at the diner. I saved every penny. I applied for scholarships and grants and student loans. I got into a nursing program at a community college. I rented a room in a house with 4 other people, sharing a bathroom and a kitchen and pretending I was fine when really I was exhausted and scared and so angry. And through it all, my mother never called, never texted, never checked to see if I was alive. Until now. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee. For a moment, I forgot she was there, and I thought maybe I had left the coffee maker on the night before. But then I heard sounds in the kitchen, the clinking of mugs, the opening and closing of cabinets, and reality crashed back down on me. I got dressed quickly and walked out to find my mother standing in my kitchen pouring coffee into 2 mugs. She had found my sugar and creamer and had set them out on the counter along with a plate of toast. "Good morning," she said brightly, as if this were completely normal. "I made coffee. I hope you do not mind. I used to remember you liked it with cream and 2 sugars. Is that still right?" I stared at her. It was such a small thing, remembering how I took my coffee, but it felt significant somehow. It meant she had paid attention, even if it was years ago. "Yes," I said. "That is still right." She handed me a mug and I took it, wrapping my hands around the warmth. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. "What time do you have to be at work?" she asked. 11, I said. "I work the afternoon shift today." She nodded. "I was thinking I could start looking for jobs today. Maybe go to some places in person. Drop off resumes. Do you have a printer I could use?" "Yes," I said. "It is in the corner by my desk." "Thank you," she said. "And thank you again for letting me stay. I know this is not easy for you." I did not know what to say to that, so I just nodded and took my coffee into my room to get ready for work. The days that followed fell into an uncomfortable routine. I would leave for work, and she would spend the day looking for jobs, cleaning my apartment, and cooking dinner. When I came home, there would be food waiting for me, and she would ask about my day, and I would give short, polite answers before retreating to my room. It felt like living with a stranger who looked like my mother and sounded like my mother, but did not quite feel like my mother. My partner noticed the tension immediately when they came over a few days later. We had been together for 3 years, and they had been there through all of it. The pain of my estrangement from my mother, the hard years of building my life, the moments when I broke down crying because I missed having a family. "Are you okay?" they asked me quietly while my mother was in the bathroom. "I do not know," I admitted. "This is so strange. She is acting like everything is normal, like we are just a regular mother and daughter who have always gotten along." "Have you two talked about what happened?" "No," I said. "Every time I try to bring it up, she changes the subject or makes an excuse. I think she wants to just pretend the past did not happen." My partner squeezed my hand. "You do not have to pretend. You are allowed to be angry." But that was the problem. I did not know if I was angry anymore, or maybe I was too angry, and it was all tangled up with guilt and sadness and confusion until I could not tell which feeling was which. It happened too weeks after she moved in. I came home from an especially difficult shift. We had lost a patient, an elderly woman who reminded me of my grandmother. I had held her hand as she passed, and it had broken something open inside me. I walked into my apartment with tears still wet on my cheeks, wanting nothing more than to collapse on my couch and let myself fall apart. But my mother was there, sitting on my couch, watching television like she belonged there. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, looking up at me. "How was work?" Something inside me snapped. "Do not call me that," I said. She blinked, startled. "What?" "Do not call me sweetheart. Do not act like we are close. Do not pretend like everything is fine between us." She stood up slowly. "I am just trying to be nice." "You should have been nice 5 years ago," I said, my voice rising. "You should have been nice when I needed you, when I was homeless, when I was scared and alone and had no one." "I did not know." "Yes, you did," I said. "You knew exactly what you were doing. You chose him over me. You watched me leave and you did not care." "I did care," she said, her voice breaking. "I cared so much that it hurt, but I was angry. I was hurt. I thought you were abandoning me just like everyone else had." "I was 17, I shouted. "I was a child. I had just lost my father and you were supposed to take care of me. You were supposed to protect me. But instead, you brought a man into our home who made my life miserable, and you defended him at every turn." "I was trying to survive," she shouted back. "I was drowning in grief and bills and loneliness, and he was there. He made me feel less alone." "And what about me?" I asked, tears streaming down my face. "What about how alone I felt? Did you ever think about that?" She sank back down onto the couch, her face crumbling. "I think about it every day," she whispered. "I think about that night all the time. I think about how you stood in the doorway with your bag packed, and you looked at me like you were waiting for me to stop you, and I did not. I just let you go." Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you let me go?" "Because I was stubborn," she said, wiping her eyes. "Because I was prideful. Because I thought you would come back and apologize and we would move past it. I did not think you would actually stay gone." "I had nowhere to go," I said quietly. "Do you understand that? I slept in my car. I slept in a park. I went days without eating because I could not afford food, and you never called. Not once." "I know," she sobbed. "I know, and I am so sorry. I was a terrible mother. I failed you in every way that mattered, and I do not expect you to forgive me. But I am here now, and I am trying to do better." "You are not here because you want to do better," I said bitterly. "You are here because you have nowhere else to go. If your husband had not left you, would you have ever reached out to me?" She looked up at me, and the truth was written all over her face. "I do not know," she admitted. "Maybe not. Maybe I would have kept telling myself that you were better off without me, that you had moved on and did not need me anymore." At least she was being honest. After that night, things changed between us. Not dramatically, not in some movie moment where we hugged and cried and everything was suddenly fine, but slowly, carefully, we started to talk about the hard things. She told me about her marriage, how he had been charming at first, attentive and kind, how he had slowly become controlling and critical, how he had isolated her from her friends and family, how he had made her feel like she was worthless without him, how he had finally left her when she had nothing left to give. I told her about the years after I left, about the nights I cried myself to sleep, about the times I almost gave up on nursing school because it was too hard and I was too tired, about the way I had built walls around my heart to keep from getting hurt again. She listened, really listened, and she apologized. Over and over she apologized. "I cannot change what I did," she said one night. "I cannot go back and be the mother you needed, but I can try to be better now, if you will let me. I do not know if I can trust you," I admitted. "I do not know if I can let you back into my life and risk getting hurt again." "That is fair," she said. "I understand. I will take whatever you are willing to give me, even if it is just this, even if we never get back what we lost." The 2 weeks I had initially agreed to turned into 3, then 4. She found a part-time job at a grocery store, but it was not enough to afford her own place yet. She asked if she could stay a little longer, just until she saved up enough for a deposit. I agreed, but I set firmer boundaries. She had to contribute to groceries and utilities. She had to respect my space and my privacy. She had to keep going to the therapy sessions I had insisted she start attending. And most importantly, she had to accept that rebuilding our relationship would take time, maybe years, maybe forever. She agreed to all of it. Slowly, we found a rhythm. She would make breakfast on her days off. I would come home from work and tell her about my patients. We would watch television together sometimes, usually cooking shows or documentaries. We did not talk about the past every day. Sometimes we just existed in the same space, and that was enough. My partner was cautiously supportive. "I just want you to protect yourself," they said. "Do not let her hurt you again." "I am trying not to," I said. "But I also do not want to spend the rest of my life angry. I do not want to carry this weight forever." About 2 months after my mother moved in, my phone started ringing off the hook. My aunt called first. "I heard your mother is living with you," she said, her tone sharp with judgment. "Is that true?" "Yes," I said carefully. "After everything she did to you? After she kicked you out and left you homeless? You are just going to forgive her like that?" "It is not that simple," I said. "It seems pretty simple to me," my aunt said. "She does not deserve your help. She made her bed and now she should lie in it." "She is my mother," I said. "She stopped being your mother the day she chose that man over you," my aunt said. "I cannot believe you are being so naive. She is probably just using you until something better comes along." I felt a flash of anger. "You did not offer to help her," I pointed out. "When she needed a place to stay, you said no. So do not stand there and judge me for saying yes," my aunt sputtered. "That is different. I do not have the space." "Neither do I said. "But I made room anyway, and that is my choice to make, not yours." I hung up before she could respond. Over the next few days, I got similar calls from cousins, from family friends, from people who had not spoken to me in years, but suddenly had very strong opinions about my life. Some of them said I was being too forgiving. Others said I was being stupid. divided. A few said I was a good daughter, but their tone suggested they thought I was also a fool. My partner's friends were divided too. Some thought I was doing the right thing. Others thought I was setting myself up to get hurt again. Why does everyone care so much? I asked my partner one night, frustrated and exhausted from fielding phone calls and texts. Why does everyone have an opinion about what I should do with my own mother? Because people are uncomfortable with complexity, my partner said. They want stories to be simple, good guys and bad guys, right and wrong. They do not like the messy middle ground where someone can be both the person who hurt you and the person who needs your help. It is my life, I said. My choice. I know, they said, pulling me close. And whatever you decide, I support you. It has been 6 months since my mother showed up at my door. 3 months ago, she moved into a small studio apartment about 20 minutes away. It is not much, but it is hers. She has a full-time job now at the grocery store, working as a shift supervisor. She has been going to therapy every week. She has started rebuilding relationships with some of her old friends. We talk on the phone twice a week. We have dinner together once a month. Last week, she came to my apartment and brought me flowers for no reason other than she was thinking of me. I am proud of you, she said. I know I did not say it enough when you were younger, but I am so proud of the woman you have become. I cried when she said that. Not sad tears, just tears. Are we close? Not really. Not the way I wish we could be. There is still so much hurt between us. So much history that cannot be erased. There are still days when I am angry at her. Days when I remember being 17 and homeless and terrified, and I want to scream at her for everything she put me through. But there are also days when I look at her and see my mother. Not the perfect mother I wish I had. Not the mother who made all the right choices, but my mother. Flawed and human and trying. People still ask me if I regret letting her stay with me, if I regret giving her a second chance. My aunt still does not speak to me. Some of my cousins think I am weak for forgiving her, but here is what I have learned. Forgiveness is not about excusing what someone did. It is not about pretending the pain never happened. It is not about forgetting or moving on like nothing matters. Forgiveness is about deciding that you are not going to let the past control your future. It is about choosing to see someone's humanity even when they have failed you. It is about protecting yourself while also leaving space for growth and change. My mother hurt me deeply in ways that I am still healing from, but she is also trying to do better. She is going to therapy. She is taking responsibility. She is showing up in the ways she can. Is it enough? I do not know. Maybe it never will be. Maybe there are some wounds that never fully heal, but I know that I made a choice to open my door. I made a choice to listen. I made a choice to set boundaries and demand accountability while also allowing for the possibility of something new. Some people will say I should have turned her away, that I owed her nothing after what she did. That blood does not erase betrayal, and maybe they are right, but I am not doing this for them. I am doing this for me, because I do not want to spend the rest of my life carrying around anger and resentment like stones in my pockets, because I do not want to become the kind of person who cannot forgive, because I believe that people can change even when they have hurt us. My mother and I will never have a perfect relationship. We will never get back the years we lost. We will never erase the pain of what happened between us, but we are building something new, something honest, something where we both take responsibility for our choices and our mistakes. And for now, that is enough. Last week, my mother sent me a text message that I have read probably 100 times. Thank you for giving me a chance to be your mother again. I know I do not deserve it, but I promise I will spend every day trying to earn it. I do not know what the future holds for us. I do not know if our relationship will continue to grow or if we will hit another breaking point. I do not know if I will ever fully trust her or if there will always be that small part of me that is waiting for her to leave again. But I know that I tried. I know that I chose compassion over bitterness. I know that I protected myself while also remaining open to possibility. And whether or not that makes me right or wrong, strong or weak, forgiving or foolish, I know that it was my choice to make. Some wounds heal by cutting people out. Some wounds heal by demanding better, by refusing to accept anything less than honesty and accountability, by building something new on top of the broken pieces. I chose the second path, and I am still learning whether it was the right one. But at least I am no longer standing still, frozen in the pain of the past. At least I am moving forward, one difficult conversation at a time. At least I am trying. And for now, in this messy, complicated, imperfect situation, that has to be enough.